Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Master Your Story. I'm Kim Plyler, and I'm thrilled to have Linda Gardner, attorney here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Linda, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Linda, it's really important nowadays that everybody has the right type of advocate supporting their needs. Give us a little insight as to how you got to where you are today and what it's like to be doing the work you're doing today.
I originally was working in higher education, and I was dealing with people who were going back to school, adults who were trying to go back to school. And I noticed a number of them were saying, hey, I might want to go to law school. And I was intrigued by that while I was working in higher ed, and eventually decided to venture to law school. And I commuted from Bethlehem to Philadelphia every day to go to Temple Law School for 3 years. And upon completing my degree, I came back to the Valley and worked with Fred Rooney, who I'd gone to school with. And Fred had his own practice, and I worked with him for about 10 years, and then decided to venture out on my own in 2005. So my practice here in Bethlehem focuses largely on family law and related issues. So we will do some wills and trusts and estates, as well as outside of the family law area. But it's related because people often change their wills whenever they've been divorced or having a life change. So I have 2 other attorneys that work with me here, as well as a support staff. But one of the unique things that I do is to work with families whose children have been abducted by a parent.
Wow. So you're talking like in a divorce case, one parent will go pick up the child and take it away out of the state or away, or
Could be anything. Often it starts with just keeping the child for an extra weekend or a week or whatever, and then there are situations which the courts can deal with pretty routinely. However, there's also situations where a parent packs up and moves and you don't know where they've gone. They could be somewhere else in the state, they could be somewhere else in the country, or somewhere else in the world. And I've been working on probably 350 to 400 of those cases in my career. Most recently, I had one with a child locally who was brought here from Egypt.
Wow. So how do you do the international interface then with the people in Egypt, or how does that work?
Yes. So in this particular case, I represent mother, and she had a custody order in Egypt that father participated in and actually even took an appeal that he lost. And so she was granted custody, but he had disappeared with the child by the time that happened. He's also facing a prison sentence if he returns to Egypt for having abducted the child. So fast forward 2.5 years, and there was more litigation in the courts, but the mother still was successful in obtaining legal custody, but she did not have any knowledge of where the child actually was. Through some work with her own family, she was able to locate the child in Allentown, and she contacted me regarding working with the courts. So in that particular case, we get copies of the orders from Egypt to verify the accuracy of what the client has told me, and we have those translated, and then we can file in the court in order to get the child picked up. This had been going on for several weeks, and of course with the coronavirus coming in now, the child was not at school, so we had to get the order and go to the child's home to pick her up. She was actually living with a stepmother, not even living with her father, who is in Kuwait apparently. So the child has been returned to her mother, but that took 2.5 years for her to locate the child on her own and be able to work through the legal system to achieve what was supposed to be hers 2.5 years before.
Wow. That's amazing. So you really do fight for the child. You fight for you're the advocate for that child and for the mother or the parent that is missing the child.
Right. I mean, I believe that every child should have both parents. So, to pick up and leave with a child and deprive them of the other parent is very harmful to the child in a way that it's not a physical harm necessarily, but an emotional harm that these children carry through their lives. They've either been told that the other parent doesn't want them, or that the other parent is deceased, or something else that serves the parent who's abducted their own needs or their own desires to be with the child. So in this case, the irony was that the child wasn't even living with the father. She saw him occasionally, once every 6 months or so, but she was living with a stepmother who's an American citizen. So she wasn't even here legally to be a resident. She came in on a visitor's visa, and then that was overstayed by the stepmother keeping her here.
Wow, that's amazing. So you really do advocate for family matters and stuff. So Linda, how can we find out more information about you?
Well, you can go to my website, which is gardnerlawyers.com, and the contact information is there. I help parents not only locally but across the country. I also help parents who have attorneys that may not be familiar with what are some of the tools that they can use legally to obtain an order and return the child to the parent once they've been found. And so I have been an advocate not only for the parents and the children, but also for other attorneys who need to have this information that they may never have known about. 350,000 children in the United States go missing every year. So I think we don't understand the gravity of it until you look at something like that and say, my goodness, what's happening to our families?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Linda, thank you so much for being here. And for everybody watching in our audience out there, please, if you need some help, reach out to Linda. You can go to her website, as she mentioned, or you can just reach out here on Master Your Story and we'll help connect you. Thank you, everybody. And Linda, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.